Greetings. It's a privilege for my wife Paula and I to be in Mongolia. I'm really excited at the opportunity to get to know the people, see your country, and learn and understand more about your livestock production system. The logo on the right is our ranch logo. The T/2 is our brand that we brand our cattle with. And of course, the boots represent the intergenerational nature and the family business that is so important to us. Kelleher, Saskatchewan is in the middle of the prairies of Canada. It's in what is called the Aspen Parkland. We are a thin, sandy loam, black soil zone. We have a lot of water bodies and bush, and it's a rolling topography. But it's very good for having a mixed farming operation with cattle and grain. This is our family. Paula and I had 4 children in the early 90s. The 2 boys are in the ranch with us. They've got children of their own. One of them manages the grain side of the business. The other one is working his way up to cow boss. And that has been a great help to me. Our goal was to build a business that any of the children could come back to, because just like you, family is really important, and the people are what it's all about. Our 2 daughters, one is a nurse like her mother, and she's married to the young farmer up the road. And the other one has her animal science degree, and she loves the livestock business. She's married to a young man near Saskatoon, and they have children as well. And she works for our Verified Beef Production Plus system and works on the ranch as well. Our family has been in our area, either on my mother's side or my father's side, for 127 years. My mother's grandfather came in 1898, and now we're into the 6th generation. Now that doesn't seem like very long in Mongolian terms, because I know your country is much, much older than ours. But I think there are many things that are similar in our landscape that we can compare notes on. The plaque on the bottom indicates that we were a century farm in 2021. My grandfather on my dad's side came from the First World War and established in 1921, so we became a century farm in 2021. The guy on the right is my dad, and when I was the little guy on the left, who was my grandson's size, I just couldn't be with my dad enough. He was my mentor, my role model, and he started the farm that we're on now when he was 18 years old. And they built it, him and my mom, they built it to a point that it was able to take me on into their business. So I'm very grateful for that. The soil is obviously the basis of life, no matter where you are. And number 1, if we take care of our people, and then number 2, we look after our soil with our production systems, then we can have a sustainable and profitable life on the land that so many of us love. This is a quote that I really like. It really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in the inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one destiny affects all indirectly. And I think if there was ever a place that shows that, is agriculture and the livestock industry and the people. The livestock industry and the cattle industry in particular have had what I think a bad rap. Cows obviously expel methane. but they're also the reason that the carbon cycle exists on the grasslands. The grasslands in your country and ours has been in existence for thousands of years, and they've been sustainable for thousands of years. And so our job is to tell our story and to manage our land so that that carbon cycle is effective and we have an environmental positive impact. So I was asked to talk about my industry involvement. The producer associations I've been involved in are Provincial Saskatchewan Cattle Association. I have been a director on that, and our Canadian Cattle Association, I was director on that for 8 years. And both of them interact with governments and the people who are the decision makers for many, many things that affect our livelihoods on the land. So it's very important that we get to know the people that govern our countries and our provinces so that we can communicate with them and that we can make sure they understand what we do and the benefits of our industry. I think research and education goes together to be, governments have a great impact on research and education because of course they fund it. I had the privilege of being the chairman of the Western Beef Development Center Advisory Board and also chairman of the Livestock and Forage Center of Excellence Advisory Board. Both of those bodies, we worked with researchers, we provided education. They are both very important bodies that came up with a lot of production practices, ones that positively affected and ones that showed that we can do things better or different, all of which are important. All the provinces in Canada have a chek-off where every time we sell an animal in Saskatchewan, $4.50 goes into what we call a chek-off. And then that's divided up into funding the body of the Saskatchewan Cattle Association, where we fund research, we have industry partners, we have administration of our body, all of which are important to help form policy for government. The other $2.50 goes to the Canadian Cattle Association, and that goes to fund marketing and promotion of the beef industry and also research and development. So at the Livestock and Forage Center of Excellence, we have field days, and I was just chairing this meeting, and it was ranchers and farmers would come from around the province to see what the researchers are doing and discuss and work with producers. And so it's a great venue for the researchers to get to know the producers to get to know the researchers, and have the engagement and the researchers show the producers what they're working on and get their input as to what they might want on their ranch. Many of the projects have had a big impact on me in particular. There were water projects that Bart did. There were swath grazing projects that they'd worked on. Projects that I took home to our operation, and they made a really big impact on our operation, on our business. And so that relationship is really critical to getting development and enhancing our industry. The feedlot industry is become a very high-tech and efficient model for producing beef, and much of the beef that is consumed now in North America and around the world is produced in feedlot settings where it's very efficient and the animals have very optimum growth rates and the health protocols are good, and so it's the research like that happens there. I was fortunate to be part of the International Farm Managers Conference, and the tour came out to our daughter's place, and we saw things, they showed different projects that they were working on, and the researchers from around the world got to see what we were doing and working on. And I think it was, again, a very mutually beneficial thing. Bill, in a situation like this, Bill has been out to our place and had a look at what we do, and I showed him some of the challenges that we had, and so to this day, when I see a challenge in our forages, I'll contact him and say, Bill, I've got this challenge, or I send a picture and say, what is this, and what should I do about it? And it's a wonderful relationship. I value it very highly. That helps our business and our family. So again, on our own ranch, we've had numerous research trials, and we engaged researchers. This one in particular is a bull study, and it's a parentage where they are checking out to see what the capacity of different bulls are for conceiving calves. You can see on the wall that we are a verified beef production plus operation, where we verify our production practices, and it has some government funding, it has some producer funding, and it verifies to the consumer the things that we do in producing the food that they eat. And that's things that we have to do so that the producers and the consumers know what they're getting, and we can tell our good news story, and we don't have to worry about the people that are trying to tell bad news stories about the industry, because there's way more good news stories than bad news stories. We test our bulls going out to pasture to make sure their conception rates are. This is our local vet. And again, research shows that if you test your bulls and you make sure that they're going to be sound breeders, you're going to have a higher success rate on your calving season. This project is where we're spaying some heifers to go out onto grass and grow out, and then go back to a feedlot. This is a Ag Canada project that Jillian Bernard did at our place, and they seeded down 28 acres to a variety of polycrops and got a good establishment. And then we turned about 1,100 pairs out into it, and I thought that there was going to be about a half a day's worth of grazing, and 3 days later they were still there grazing. And so there's a good example of my cowboy intuition was not right, and the research showed that this has great potential. And I understand Graham Finn is doing stuff like that here in Mongolia and getting good results. We also like to promote the beef industry in our schools and our kids and the people. In Canada, less than 2% of the population are involved in agriculture. And so it's important that we get out and we tell our story, because the other 98% don't really know what we do. And so we have to get out into schools, we have to talk to kids, we have to tell our story. And it's amazing how those kids just sit and listen and really want to hear what you're doing. Most of them were more interested in that dog than they were in me, but still it was a fun day. Our daughter Holly was featured in the Canadian Cattle magazine, and she's a great proponent of the beef industry. She loves the business and that dog as well. And we, people on the land and people engaging and working with government and researchers and education facilities telling our story. I was the environment chair for the Canadian Cattle Association, and the environment is, of course, very, very important to us, because a healthy environment means that we have a healthy business. And we have a environmental stewardship award in Canada, and all the regions of Canada have a competition to have a representative from their region come to the national competition. And this particular winner this year was Doug and Linda Ray from Alberta, and they're wonderful stewards of the land. They have a great story to tell, and we awarded them with the Environmental Stewardship Award this year. And in the back is Lawrence Macaulay, our federal Canadian Agriculture Minister of Government. Again, there's Lawrence Macaulay and our president of the Canadian Cattle Association. That's our Saskatchewan Minister of Agriculture, David Merritt. And, you know, we get to know these guys on a personal level. And so that they understand. I mean, of course, David was a farmer himself and he understands that. But when we get to know them and we get to know the people around them, and they're the decision makers for what happens in education, research, and on the industry level. And so it's important that we get to know them and work with them so we are all under an understanding of what has to be done. In the Canadian Cattle Association, we get together and we host a barbecue for our ministers, and they all come and they eat Canadian beef and hamburgers, and they love it, and they come to that reception and they eat Canadian beef, and we tell our story, and it's we feel we have a very positive impact, and we're told that our lobby effort in Ottawa is one of the best lobby efforts of all the industries. This was a really big day for me. As the environment chair, this fellow in the middle was our environment minister. He was not a supporter of the beef industry. And we tried and we worked hard to get into his office and talk with him and just communicate with him. And the young lady on the right is Jen Babcock. She's our government affairs staff person, and she did a wonderful job of bringing our environmental stewardship award winners, Doug and Linda Ray, into his office and sitting down and telling the story of our industry and telling the benefits. And it was really fulfilling to see his reaction to our respectful communication that we had with him. And I think that's what we've got to do to make sure that our government people hear from us and we tell our story. Again, you know, to be in his office and shake his hand and give him that picture that tells our story was a very important day for me. So like you, the future is our children, and we teach them young, just like you, and they like to be with us right from the get-go. And this is my grandson, and he loves to be with us on the land. And this is a farm show called Agriculture in Motion. And we're at a trial plot, where different researchers have their plots and demonstrating them to farmers. And they're very important things that government helps fund and make it work. And so these research trials have been a great impact on our operation and many of the operations I know, because I get to come and see what works before I have to spend a lot of my own money on trials and successes and failures. So if we take our children and we learn, we teach them and we learn as well, life is good, and we can continue the generations on our land. So from Saskatchewan and Canada, Paula and myself and our 8 grandchildren, thank you very much for having me here in Mongolia. I am really honored and feel very privileged to have been here.